Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine world. And, over the last few days, I've been seeing some interesting stuff regarding, mass communication. So I figured, why not talk about it? This is, Titan HST. We are a mass notification company. And some of the stuff that's going on, it's not about the tool that you're using necessarily, although we can talk about templates and things like this that you can put up with Titan HST, which makes life a lot easier when you're sending messages. But it's also the idea of crafting that message and what does it truly mean and how does it get across to your end receivers. And I've been sending messages, right, for many years when it comes to emergency management. As my life there started when I was working for the city of Dana Point and crafting messages for the emergency planning zone for the nuclear power plant that was just down the road from us. And we're in that 10-mile radius. And a lot of times what you're looking at is how do you get people to receive the message, or that receive the message, I guess, and then how do you get them to act to how you want them to do, right? So in other words, if we want somebody to evacuate an area, what does that mean to evacuate? And where are they in safety, and where do you want them to go? And I had the honor and privilege to work with Dr. Dennis Maletti, who realistically was the guy he pioneered what it means to send mass notification and what these messages mean to how people react to them. And we're having this conversation regarding when you send a message and say, for instance, so we're here in Southern California, in Orange County, California, and we go, we need you to evacuate north of the 405. Well, for those of you that are in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, you have really no clue what that means, even if you're here visiting. And even people that live here are not sure what it means to be north of the 405. And, so you want to craft the message where people truly understand what the results needed are to be. And the reason why I started thinking about this is the other day at the train derailment in Palestine, Ohio, people didn't react or didn't take heed or whatever word that you want to put in there to the mass notification message that was sent out to them to evacuate. Some chose not to evacuate due to financial reasons. Some chose not to evacuate due to, they're afraid that somebody's going to come in and, rob their home or burglarize their home. And, those are concerns, right? And how do you address those? It's hard to do in a text message size note. Having that plan set ahead, saying, hey, this is what we need you to do. This is where you can go for more information, and to keep people updated on a regular basis is critical. And I feel like I'm talking to the choir a little bit here because, we're in this world, but sometimes because we're in this world, we forget what others are seeing and perceiving and how they are getting their message, and what device. Whether it's over a cell phone, whether it's over a computer, whether it's over the TV, whether, those things, how that works. And then that's the other side of it too, is what are we using or what are they receiving the information on also has a lot to do with how they react to it. So if they're receiving just a text message, right, and they're not text message users necessarily, sometimes the messaging can be confusing because it's so short and doesn't really give a lot of detail. And then even if we put a link inside the text message to get them to go to where other information is, what are their abilities, say in an older population, do they have the skill set to be able to get to the other messages and to receive what's going on. So I think you have to keep that in mind when you're sending messages too, is who is your audience? What is their age? And and it sounds terrible to think this, but you have a kid like my daughter who her mode of communication is our devices, whether they're the iPad or that she does not realistically use terrestrial TV necessarily. So the mode of communication with her would not work well if you're sending messages across, the EAS messages across TV. Where if you have, say, my dad when he was alive, he didn't have a smartphone, right? Because he wasn't really able to use it or didn't want to use it. And so having that smartphone device for him, really wouldn't work, right? Or a smartphone notification really wouldn't work. So you have to have that mixed mode of communication to send out to people. So then you talk about the messaging itself. When you say where do you want them to go, you need to be pretty precise in the definitions. So, for instance, if we here are in Southern California, again, because this is my experience, you have people, tsunami, for instance, warning, and or evacuation notification going out to everybody. And you say, hey, follow the evacuation signs. Well, people might not even know what the tsunami evacuation signs look like. So if you have the opportunity to be able to send a message with what the sign looks like and where you want them to go, that helps out, right? So having the ability to send images as well as words, I think that's a critical step in what we do with mass notification. The other side of it too is once they get to their location, then what? What do they do then? And so for instance, for us, when we were in the bluffs, if you could get up above the tsunami inundation zone, we say, okay, you're safe. Well, what's up there? Well, I mean, there's a parking lot up there, Starbucks. You go into Starbucks and you can watch the wave come in. But that doesn't make sense, right? So you have to give them additional directions to saying, okay, this is how you can go to get to either shelters or get to other places that are safe to congregate, and which services are going to be provided there. And so to have that stuff all pre-planned, ready to go in a template form, I think is critical. And test those messages. Do A/B testing with, say, your volunteer corps. If you have like CERT team or volunteer police services, depending on age as well, send those A/B messages. Send messages to say, hey, what is this to tell you? Take time and real effort into developing a mass notification system and a plan and the messaging. And like I said, test those out, because this is where I feel where we fail in emergency management is we write the messages and we understand them, and you don't send them to people who are not in our system that would read them and go, oh, this doesn't really make sense to me. So those are the steps that you really need to delve into to have a good program, right? To where you are going, okay, this is mass notification. This is message one. What does it mean to you? Have them repeat the message back, have them reply. And the cool thing with Titan HST is that you can do safety status updates. You can have two-way communication. So when you send the message out, you can get real-time data back on whether that was an effective message or not during your drills and tests. Send them to all different age groups. If you can, get your family members involved, right? Have them, read them. Send them to groups of if you want to work with, say, some of the critter clubs, as they're affectionately called, like the moose or the elks or whatever, and see different people inside there. Work with them and send test messages out to real groups of people that can read them and give you proper feedback on whether they are working or not. Because the worst thing that could happen is during a disaster that you think that you have a message that makes sense and you send them out to people and they don't act because they don't understand what you're asking them to do, right? That really doesn't help, all right? It adds time to the evacuation, which could actually, obviously cause harm and or deaths due to the inaction of the people who are receiving these messages. We can't always blame the people who don't act, right? Sometimes we have to look back and say, what are we doing wrong, right? And how can we make it better? And so the lessons that we're going to learn from the Palestine, Ohio train derailment, we really need to learn those lessons. As Craig Fugate says, lessons learned and not implemented are just lessons observed. And let's take a look at what's going on over there and make it so it's lessons learned and not just lessons observed. Hey, everybody, I do appreciate you being here with us today with Titan HST. And hey, look, if you are interested in learning more about what we're doing here at Titan HST, please go over to the website, www.titanhst.com. Go to the demo. It's on the side menu there. Click that button. Book a demo. Say that you heard about them here at Business Continuity Today, and you'll get 30 days free trial of the software. You get to play with it, kick the tires, see how things are going, and yeah, play with it, use it. And I think that you'll find that it's a very user-friendly system that can really enhance your mass notification program. So until next week, please stay safe, stay hydrated.